Welcome to Grace United Methodist Church online worship. Thank you for joining us. Our community ministries originate at the corner of 3rd and Winnepearo in Long Beach, California. While the coronavirus is active, none of our worship communities are gathering in person. Our English language service happens live via moderated Zoom meeting on Sundays at 10 a.m. Our Khmer language service follows at 11:30. Those links may be found each week at facebook.com/graceonthird. For more information, go to our website at graceonthird.com.
A reading from Romans chapter 13, verses 8 and 10 through 11. Don't be in debt to anyone except for the obligation to love each other. Whoever loves another person has fulfilled the law. Love doesn't do anything wrong to a neighbor. Therefore, love is what fulfills the law. As you do all this, you know what time it is. The hour has already come for you to wake up from your sleep. Now our salvation is nearer than when we first had faith. May God bless our hearing and understanding of these holy words. Thanks be to God.
Several weeks ago, I offered you the bold proclamation that understanding our scriptures, or understanding our Messiah, Jesus Christ, or even understanding God for that matter, should never be a daunting or confusing endeavor. Actually, there is very little for us to mess up. Anyone who intentionally overcomplicates matters of faith, perhaps with the goal to judge or discourage others in their relationship with God. Jesus says it would be far better for them to have a heavy stone attached around their necks and to be drowned in a lake. I have joined countless numbers of other pastors over time as we have used images to describe God in our children's messages, like God is love, or God is like the Son. Jesus did pretty much the same thing as he described God as a parent or a landowner or a shepherd. He often described other people as children or plants or even sheep. Now, one of the challenges with doing this in our children's messages is that those hearing the words may misunderstand what they're hearing or not quite be old enough to understand, and they walk away believing that God is literally the Son. Another challenge that exists with children's messages is that adults may just dismiss the lesson because they are no longer children, or because they once thought about that 20 years ago and are therefore good to go. Allow me to suggest that followers of Christ don't get an early retirement option, nor do we receive a merit badge for having completed the basic tasks, or having served our 5 years, or our 10 years, or our 30 years. Now, as adults, we could say that we are still children, and we could say that we are still like children. And in the presence of God, both of those would be correct. Now, on the other hand, many of us have learned more since the time we were physically small children. To show for that, we have wisdom lines around our eyes and diverse wisdom hair follicles in various parts of our bodies. Possessing such evidence of our wisdom, we may then know that light comes from the sun, and it may be reflected or directed in ways to illuminate injustice or even light up the face of planet Jupiter. Light from the sun can become lasers and cut through solid objects. The light can cause cancerous skin cells on our skin, and it can also create optical illusions such as the dancing ghosts within the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. Thankfully, we have another of Apostle Paul's letters in which he offers us more characteristics about love. To the people of the church in Corinth, he wrote, "Love is patient and kind. Love is not envious, boastful, arrogant, or rude. It is not demanding. It is not resentful. Deceit makes love sad, and truth makes love happy. Love is without end." When I was a child, I had limited understanding of these things. I would look into a mirror, and the things I understood looked dim to me at that time. Even now, as I'm older, I look into a mirror and I see distorted reflections of myself, reflections that are biased by my prejudices, either in favor or against my own self-image. Also, biases from my development that remain either in favor of or against others. When Paul wrote of that moment when we awaken to love, he wrote that now I only know a portion, then I will know it completely, just as I have been completely known by God. I suggested last week that one of the simplest and yet hardest challenges in our lives will be for us to know ourselves completely. I like to say, be you while you're here. In fact, why don't we be us all of the time? And if last week sounded at all challenging, then Paul increases the challenge 1,000 times in Romans 13. Not only are we to be the best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be, but we are on the quest to love all versions of ourselves before we awoke and while we awaken. Now, if God can love us while we are yet sinners, then we can learn how to love ourselves with our imperfections and transgressions, regrets and problems, past and present. God loves us while we are still distorted reflections of who we are still yet to become. So what shall we do until that moment when we are able to see more clearly? 1, express our love for others in extravagant ways, ways that may be received and understood. I'll personally add to that. Let us also only use words when absolutely necessary. 2, eliminate all harm that has been caused by us toward others. In addition to that, let's work endlessly to eradicate any and all harm, all of it, experienced by others. Continually we strive to see ourselves and others more clearly. And 3, just the observation that we are still only partially awake. So we strive to wake up, in the words of Jesus, wake up to the realm of God that is at hand. Our salvation is nearer than the moment when we first believed. We are nearly done with our summer in Rome, and next week we eat. Please remember to bring your breakfast with you to worship next Sunday.